field and where investments have in place. So you have 71.7% representing Islamic banking. You have 1.3% representing takaful, what you call the Islamic insurance. Islamic funds take 2.8% and sukuk take 24.2%. Around the world, this is how the instrument of Islamic finance have been structured for 2019. The figure for 2020 will be different from this, considering the pandemic that has happened. By the time that those figures for 2020 are compiled, we will see a marked difference and we'll see where it will fall into. Now, the Islamic fund asset by asset class for 2018 falls into these areas. You'll find the equity falling into 42.40% with the highest there. You have the money market instrument falling into 25.29%. You have the commodity market falling into 14.52%. You have the fixed income stroke sukuk falling into 9.49%. And you have mixed allocation in 7.30%, real estate falling into 0.95%, and other alternatives specialty falling into 0.04%. So for 2018, when you further break down the fixed income and other areas of the investment portfolio of the Islamic fund assets, this is what you have. Okay, so at different strata, at different level, we'll see how these funds are and how they behave. Now, coming back to where we're supposed to start from, we look from the fixed income as an investment. One will say it's an investment approach. So if you have fixed income investment, it means so you have some cash which I will intend to invest. And the focus is for the preservation of capital and income. Sometimes you want to save your capital. Sometimes you want to have an additional income or you want to save your income. Okay, so for instance, I give you this quick example. If you hold your 1 naira, 100 naira in January 2020, your value of 1 naira as of December 2020 will have been 100 naira will have been, your 100 naira in January will have been 66 naira 70 kobo as at today, because you have lost that capital. So if you have actually put it down as a capital, you've lost almost 37% or 34% of your capital because of inflation. It typically includes investment like government and corporate bonds. So fixed income respect government and corporate bonds, money market funds, and it offers steady stream of income with less risk. So the risk appetite of people who normally go into fixed income, Islamic fixed income investment is usually low. They have low risk appetite. Now, the fixed income gives you some benefits. One, it gives you ability to have diversification from stock market risk. Instead of you to put your money into shares and the risk that follows this kind of portfolio, you are able to move away from it and put your money into fixed income. However, your earning is also lower. So the kind of money that you make from fixed income as compared to profits that you sometimes will make from, from fixed income instrument, and as compared to shares generated in corporate, there's always a parity. Capital preservation, you'll be able to preserve your capital. Income generation, you are able to generate additional income. So from fixed income investment can help to generate a steady source of income. Investors receive a fixed amount of income at regular interval in the form of coupon payment or their bonds holding, or your rentals. In the case of sukuk, you get your rentals. The Ijara sukuk floated by the federal government of Nigeria, you are actually able to make your biannual returns from it. We just paid one early in December. We got some rentals early in December. So you also have other risks that is associated with fixed income. Just like they have an advantage, they also have risk. One is the interest rates risk. Interest rates can go above it and it then becomes very difficult. Inflation risk can go beyond it and it becomes difficult. You have credit risk, that is where you invest in corporate bonds, you take on credit risk in addition to interest rate risk. The credit risk, also known as business risk or financial risk, can put you into some challenges. Is the possibility that an issuer could default on his debt obligation. If this happens, the investors may not receive the full value of their principal or investment. We have one that has been restructured almost 2 or 3 times now in Nigeria. The Issuance Sukuk has been restructured consistently, and investors in that client are wondering whether they are able to get their money back. You also have liquidity risk. This is a chance that an investor might want to sell a fixed income asset, but they are unable to find a buyer. Sometimes you want to sell, you're not able to find a buyer. If you look at the first Sukuk issuance in Nigeria, apart from the sovereign Sukuk now, it took a while before we could have trading on the secondary markets. And so until they were trading in the secondary markets, people who held them were not able to trade in them. So Islamic fixed income instruments deserve particular focus as the evolution and depth of the market can improve liquidity management. You see, when you have fixed income instruments, you're looking at diversifying your investment portfolio. So your investments of takaful premiums, pension investments, and provide an alternative means for funding for issuers. You are able to structure your fixed income instrument to actually play actively in this light. And the asset management industry has been an increase in fund, but allow from both Muslims nation and pool of Islamic liquidity in foreign nation have the potential to increase as the asset gain more recognition and Muslims become more aware of the obligation of financial management. So sometimes you have the fund, but you don't have the instrument for which you want to actually put the fund into. So this fixed income instrument enables you to put fund into it. Now, because you might also be operating in a particular sector in the economy where the regulation will not allow you to put funding into some other areas like stock or call, so you are able to put money into fixed income instruments. For instance, the pension industry, you have a limit for which you can actually invest your fund as stipulated by law. So the pension industry in Nigeria have things they can invest in and things they cannot invest in. Part of the things they can invest in is to put money into fixed income instruments. However, you don't have so many that are halal. So there is also, from the supply side, you find the depths of instrument for which you need to invest your money into. Now, asset of Islamic investment fund. So the Islamic money market fund is divided into money market sukuk, which is short time, and deposit in Islamic bank. So you have the money market sukuk. Well, for you to have chosen this topic, I know you must have covered a lot of ground in that area. So you also have Islamic fixed income fund, which is a different class of sukuk as well. These are more longer terms or medium terms, and you can use them for infrastructure development. And you have the Islamic equity fund, which are Sharia compliance equities. So equities that have gone through the indexes and have been certified by the index to say that these are clean and they're Sharia compliant, and you can actually put money into them. Then you have the Islamic real estate fund. We don't have much of that around us today, but these are areas where for entrepreneurs you can quickly develop, and you can have Islamic real estate fund that seeks to provide real estate and for the development of Sharia-compliant real estate investments. So a typical structure of Islamic fund would be that you have the fund managers who are the wakil. Okay, they are the trustees, they keep the fund, they manage the fund on behalf of the fund owners. Then you have the Sharia advisory board that advise them. You have investors, you have who give back to investment fund, and the investment fund gives back to investment securities. And of course, the fund is not kept in the pocket. The investment fund is actually kept with custodians. So usually you get what's it called? You get registration from the Security and Corporate Affairs Commission, Security and Exchange Commission, SEC. You get a registration from them, and they will appoint the custodian that will keep the money. So you have a wakil structure, and the form may take the form of trusts, collective investment contract, or company special purpose entity. So the custodian needs to be an Islamic bank, but conduct upon asset must be within the Sharia. So usually they will give you a financial institution, like I said, but since you are putting in an investment fund that is Sharia compliant, you also need the bank, which is the deposit money fund, to also be an Islamic bank so that the money is compliant all through. So you have fixed income products, and your fixed income products are one, you can have commodity mudaraba and wakala. So you can have, in terms of commodity, a wakala contract or a mudaraba contract that enables you to deal with fixed income products. So, and this helps the interbank lending market. But I've also added another method of effectively implementing a short duration of money market strategy. Banks borrow money from other banks. Anyway, you will know this because you have chosen this topic. Again, you must have covered all of this before you get into this. So banks borrow money from banks. So there are daily rates among banks. So a Jaiz bank can lend money to a Taj bank can lend money to a Jaiz bank, and so they can lend money to one another on a daily rate, where they are not making profit, but they have money market instruments for which they use to lend to themselves. Now they also have profit rate swaps, which have in recent years allowed for Islamic portfolios to hedge their exposure to market rate risk. Of course, when you begin to play in the money market, there are risks, like we say, that are associated with it. So how do you defend yourself? Defending yourself is what we call hedging. How do you hedge yourself against this risk? So there are profit rate swaps that you can use as instruments. And they will also go into fixed income investments in that regards. So you have ordinary stocks, you have preferred stocks, you have mutual funds. Mutual funds, a few Islamic financial outfits operate that way in Nigeria, and they provide mutual fund, which is an investment vehicle actually, consisting of funds collected by many investors. So they pool money from different people. Either you do it consistently on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, a biannual basis, or an annual basis. You put the funds together, and because of their knowledge of the financial market, they are able to invest in security such as stocks, bond, sukuk, money market instruments that are compliant to the Sharia, and assets that are Sharia compliant, and they manage it. They take their brokerage from it, and they pay the profit that is left among the investors based on their investments. So you also have the single stock futures. Now, so let's go back to sukuk and take a look at sukuk. Sukuk is not a new invention. I was looking at a book here. Muwatta, in Muwatta Imam Malik, reference was actually made to sukuk. So if you have the Muwatta by Imam Malik, you will see under investment that even Imam Malik made mention of sukuk, which shows that it's actually a very old instrument, and it's quite dated. Okay. Now, having said that, sukuk is actually an Arabic word which refers to investment certificates or notes, which evidence proportionate interest in ownership of tangible assets. So for a tangible asset, you are saying that this certificate or this note that I have says I have a proportionate interest in these assets, whether it's usufruct and services or investment in the asset of a particular project or special investment activities that adhere to the principle of the Sharia. So you've seen a number of sukuk issued today, sovereign sukuk issued today in Nigeria. Those sukuk were actually sukuk ijara. So they are leasing sukuk. They are lease-based sukuk. I will discuss them later. The basic principle behind sukuk, popularly known as an Islamic or Sharia compliant bond, is that the holder has an undivided ownership rights in a particular asset and therefore entitled to the return generated by that asset. As a component of Islamic finance, sukuk is a non-interest-based investment. It doesn't follow any interest. And financing instrument, but its application is not restricted to Muslim. Today, it's not only Muslims that are using sukuk. Around the world, people use sukuk, and it's been a wonderful instrument, especially for development. And if you check online, you will see a project of mine, which I called sukuk as an instrument for infrastructural development in developing economy. It's actually in peer review now. Now, this sukuk issuance around the world from 2005 to 2018, this is the sukuk issuance in billions of dollars. And this includes all government-related entities, multilateral development banks, and international organizations. For the purpose of this report, the government-related agencies referred to sukuk obligor with a shareholding structure representing more than 1/3, that's 66.67% of the government ownership through either ministries, authorities, etc. So this is the way sukuk has gone around the world. Now, you will discover that if you look at this, between 2011 to 2014, there's a surge. So there's a surge at that point because that was when we had some dip in international finance, and a lot of government actually came out to use sukuk to shock those surge. It went down when we started recovering, started going up from 2017 again when we started experiencing another dip in financing. Now that we've gone around now that we're looking at another round of funding coming into different nations owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, we hope to see another such uprise in government clamoring for sukuk again to be able to fuel, to support and fund their deficits. Now, let me do a quick check from everyone. Can you give me, from a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, your understanding of what I'm saying so far? Please type it in, let me see. Thank you. So very good. That's interesting. I've seen between 2 to 5 and quite a number of 3, quite a number of 4, which shows we're not doing badly. Okay, thank you. Okay, so these are classes of sukuk issuance between 2005 and 2018. So you have sovereign sukuk issuance by jurisdiction. Saudi Arabia 31.94%, Malaysia 32.82%, Gambia 0.03%, Bangladesh 0.03%, Morocco 0.15%, Brunei 0.26%, Qatar 0.38%, Nigeria 0.51%, UAE 5.31%, Bahrain 3.36%, Oman 4.38%, Turkey 7.4%, Indonesia 13.3%. So this is how we're fed between 2005 and 2018, countries that have issued sukuk around the world. Now, something will become very interesting for you. You will discover that countries that are actually focused in growth have actually issued more sukuk. You know the reason why? It is very difficult to embezzle the money from sukuk. Almost impossible. You can't embezzle it, except where the issuer is a thief. Because it must go straight into the projects, especially when they are sukuk ijara. And they must be able to generate the funding to fund themselves and do a payback. So for countries that have decided to grow and they are focused on growth and particularly perfecting their infrastructure, they've gone the way of sukuk. And you can see that from what Malaysia have done, what Saudi Arabia has done, and what UAE has done there. You see, those ones are people that are focused, and Turkey has done the same thing. Look, Turkey has come out strongly in the recent past as a very strong and powerful European nation. So let us now look at sukuk and the different type of sukuk. You have the sukuk mudaraba. The mudaraba sukuk is a certificate that represents ownership in investment managed on the basis of mudaraba. Mudaraba is that there's a mudarib who is the entrepreneur or the worker, and there's the Rabb al-Mal, the owner of fund. And on the basis of that, sukuk are structured, which essentially is a form of profit sharing in Islamic finance. So there's a profit that is made at the end of the day, and it is shared between the parties. But when you put it onto sukuk, you have to get an SPV, a special purpose vehicle, that will drive it. Then the profit sharing ratio is agreed. Sukuk ijara is what we are comfortable with and we're familiar with. That is a sukuk that has been issued by the federal government of Nigeria. So it's fundamentally a concept of sukuk ijara is that the owner of an asset are investors that are authorized to collect a fee in return for leasing the assets. In simple word, this is essentially a rental or a lease contract, granting the right to use an asset in return for payment. So you want to use sukuk, for instance, for the construction of road. So what we've done is that we've collected the money and we have an SPV. The money is given to the SPV. The federal government then said, we want to use this fund for the construction of road. So they must hit the ground. So they hit the ground, so they break the ground, they start doing some level of clearing before the sukuk starts. So when the sukuk starts, you put the money together and you hand it over for the corporation that is going to do the development of the road, which must be outside of the government. So they construct the road, and you now say this road has the capacity to take 1 million vehicles every quarter or every half yearly. If they pay a toll for using this road of 500 naira, this is what it amounts to. And the people who are supposed to, who invested into the sukuk, this money is then divided across them. That is sukuk ijara, because it's a lease or a rental contract. So you have the partnership sukuk, which has to do with musharaka, and you have different types. You have the sukuk istisna. The istisna sukuk enables you to finance projects. So because there are things in the world that you can't just go in and trade them on the shelf. you have to pre-finance them. Aircraft, for instance, there are no places where aircraft are parked and you just go in there and buy one. And so you have to pre-fund them. Same thing for ships, okay? And so for other things like houses, construction, real estate. So it's just now most time I use for those. You have salam. Salam, sukuk as-salam are sukuk that looks at two different salam contracts. One is bay al-mu'ajjal, the bay al-mu'ajjal, as well as bay as-salam. And both of them use SPVs as well. And you use sukuk to fund this, particularly in the agricultural field, where you need to fund the farmers and they pay at harvest. So they don't need to put in every cash at the beginning. Their labor, their farm input, and everything is paid for. And at the end of the day, during harvest, they're able to pay back. Okay, so based on my time, I'll try and do a summary. There will be more sovereign sukuk issued around the world. We expect that there will be more and more sovereign sukuk offered around the world from 2021. Nigeria and indeed other African countries are expected to issue more sukuk because we're going to have a lot of budget deficit. Remember, the economy went into recession 3 times in the course of 2020. So it's just recovering now at minus 3.67. And doing that, we expect that there's going to be quite a lot of deficit that needs to be funded using fixed income instruments. Rates are expected to come down as well in Nigeria, where analysts are projecting between 9 to 12% rentals and nothing more than that. And that will be coming down from 15 and 14% to 9 to 12%. Critical infrastructure development will depend heavily on sukuk around Africa and around the world. We expect that there will be more speed to the issue of sukuk in the future. Today, it takes an average of 7 to 9 months to issue one single sukuk. So we expect that by now, around the world, the speed will have been gained, and we'll be able to come closer to treasury bills. You can actually issue treasury bills within 24 hours, but sukuk is not like that. So we need to see what we can do to speed up the issue. So more secondary market trading is expected. So we expect that people will be able to trade more and more in the secondary market using the sukuk. We are likely to see our first private sector sukuk issued in 2022, God willing. So this is the discussion on sukuk, and I thank you for having me this morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for that fantastic presentation. At this point, allow me to invite one of our brothers who will be moderating the question and answer and guiding through. Allow me to invite, do we have GMK on board? Okay, Rajiwala, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As our last moderator said, my name is Ajibola Lawal, and I'll be taking over the question and answer session. We thank Doctor for that insightful presentation on sukuk. As I said, the basic understanding of Islamic finance is intrinsic to understanding most of the things they've said. So if there's any one of us who hasn't actually fully grasped everything, I do invite them to do a basic reading on Islamic finance so that we can take the most benefit out of this lecture. Saying that, I think we can now take questions. So if anyone has any question, please type it in the chat box or the question and answer section, and we'll be able to take it. I'm sure we've received some questions now. The first question is, how can we invest in fixed income fund? So Doctor, would you take that first?
Yeah, inshallah. So, I mean, that's quite simple. So what you normally find is for sukuk, For sukuk as an fixed income instrument in Nigeria, the Debt Management Office of Nigeria always advertise it. And they issue the form through various stockbroking firms. So what you need to do is you take the form, you complete the form, and you state your bank account and your details, and you put your check across to it. That's your investment. And during every quarter, when the rentals are paid, they are paid straight into your bank account. And when the investment matured, your money is also paid back to you into your bank account. It's quite simple, it's straightforward. No technicalities whatsoever.
Thank you very much indeed. I hope that sort of answered the question for the questioner. The next question we have is, I want more explanation on Mudaraba Sukuk. And I suppose partly maybe in answering that question, we can touch upon a bit on the penetration of Ijara Sukuk in Nigeria as well, as compared to Muraba Sukuk.
Because of the technicalities that are involved in Murabaha and Mudaraba and giving them out as Sukuk, a lot of organizations always run away from them. Because in the real sense of Murabaha, the entrepreneur can use the fund. And when he does, he cannot be compelled to pay back, except if it is deliberate. Now, proving that it is deliberate is very difficult. As such, don't forget we are living in a dual regulatory environment. If you are an Islamic fund manager, you are still being subjected to the law by the Central Bank of Nigeria, as well as the Security and Exchange Commission. So banks, Islamic banks in Nigeria, will find it very difficult to give you a product on the basis of Mudaraba. Reason? Under the Sharia, technically you can lose the fund. Under the banking law in Nigeria, you cannot lose the fund. Banks are not created to make losses in Nigeria. Banks are created to make returns back to their shareholders. So for them to move away from it, so they move away from those products. So it becomes very difficult for you to build. I think the market is yet to get that level of maturity. That level of maturity where you say, we are now issuing a Mudaraba Sukuk. Terrible people can take advantage of it and defraud the community. And it will now give us a very bad name. Now, having said that, for the sake of the literature and the discussion, there are 3 independent parties that are involved in a Mudaraba contract. The first person is the Mudarib, the entrepreneur, owner of idea, the merchant, call him whatever name you want to call him. Is a person that knows how to produce this computer that we are all using today. And he needed money to produce the computers so that he can establish a computer manufacturing company. He knows everything about computer. Then you have the Rabb al-Mal, the owner of funds. So the owner of funds are the people who are going to contribute money into the company for the company to be able to do business. You have the SPVs. They are special purpose vehicles that are specifically created for Sukuk. They will not hand over the cash to, they will be the one to collect the money and stay in between the investor and the entrepreneur. So they will release the money to the entrepreneur based on what he needs to do. If he says, I need to buy 20 chairs, they say, where do you want to buy the 20 chairs? Where is it sold? Oh, Brother Ajibola sells 20 chairs. Let's go to his place. They will pay for the 20 chairs. They will not hand over cash to him. That is how Sukuk al-Mudaraba, that's the way it operates. But the market is not matured yet to that level. And that is why we've decided to pick the easier one for us to deal with, which is the Sukuk al-Ijara, the lease or rentals. That is easy because we have not even seen a single corporate Sukuk. All the Sukuk we've been doing are sovereign Sukuk. Osun State government did one, which everybody is swallowing his saliva on now. We don't know the way it's going to turn out because it's been rescheduled 3 times. Payments are not able to be made and the state is poor. Now, but we have a sovereign sukuk by the federal government and we're seeing regular payment of rentals on this sukuk. Now, the question is, we should allow this market to mature before we start introducing other variants. Because even the banks today, they're not operating a mudaraba sukuk or a mudaraba investment. They're not doing it. They're doing more of musharaka and lease and ijara. The takaful that we have, they are using the wakala model. They are not doing the mudaraba and the musharaka model. They are doing the wakala model under which they now put musharaka. So the wakala is having a wakil. You, the contributors into the takaful companies, you are the owners of the takaful company. So what they do is that the takaful company today are just your wakil. They are your agent to help you run the takaful company because the market is not matured yet. By the time the market matured, other mature products will continue to surface. So that's the way it operates today. I hope that tries to answer it. If I'm not confusing you, I hope I'm trying to make some point. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Excellent, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed. There's one more question here, which I think you sort of covered in your introduction, but because of the diversity of the audience we have, some people are advanced on the topic of Islamic finance where other people are trying to grasp it. Someone has raised a question saying, can you tell us what sukuk is in layman terms? And also, how is it different, i.e. the rental yield perhaps that you earn on sukuk, different from interest rates?
Unfortunately, I'm not a layman. So it's difficult for me to know what the layman talks about. I'm a professional, so to layman, I'm not lay. But maybe let me try and see what I can bring very closer home to you, an example. So what sukuk is the road from Lagos to Ibadan cannot be divided into 50-50 naira. But my investment of 1 million naira is my undivided interest in the road from Lagos to Ibadan. Does that make sense? Or it makes it more confused? Okay, so I pray it makes some sense. Okay, so is it different from, what is the difference between sukuk and
interest?
And interest?
Yeah.
They are very far away, they're not the same thing. Interest is not an investment. Interest is the amount of money that you place on the money, whether that money earns any job or not. The amount of money you place on another money is called interest. What sukuk is an investment, so they don't even, they are parallel and they cannot meet even in heaven. So if I give you 100 naira, I give Brother Ajibola 100 naira, and I say to Brother Ajibola, pay me back my money in 3 months, but you're going to pay me 110 naira. That's interest. If I say to you, pay me back 101 naira, that 1 naira is interest. And so interest is prohibited under the Sharia. Now, what is allowed? Inna Allah harrama al-riba wa halala bayya. Allah has prohibited the riba and has made permissible trading. So we can trade, but we cannot collect interest. Now, so for sukuk, I'm saying that I'm giving you a lease. I'm renting you. So Brother Ajibola gives me a keke marwa. You know keke marwa? So he gives me a keke marwa. Then I should use the keke marwa on lease. So on a daily basis, he said the lease, the rent that I'm going to pay him on that keke marwa on a daily basis is 5,000 naira. So I take the keke marwa from him and I go around Lagos. And I make 20,000 naira. I spend 10,000 naira for fuel. I spend 5,000 naira for fuel. I'm left with 15,000 naira. I pay him his 5,000 naira rentals and I put 10,000 naira in my pockets. That is rentals. What I'm paying him is rental. The same way you pay rent to your landlord. So that is the same way you pay rentals. For using the house, you pay rentals. So that is what you pay for sukuk al-ijara. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I suppose what word of saying it obviously is to see sukuk as an investment certificate you get, and then interest on the other hand is just money on money, as the doctor has said. And obviously with sukuk, the renter, we in the UK we tend to make a distinction between rent and interest. So a simple way to just say it is that sukuk is just the rent you get on that asset, whereas interest isn't. It's just the money that is making money. So the next question we have here, Doctor, someone says, can you train us and certify members on Islamic banking? Yeah, I think it's more of a broader question outside the remit of the lecture.
Yeah, so that's possible. I had a discussion with the chief missioner, and that discussion is still ongoing, inshallah, and we're looking for ways to do this, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you. And there's a question about the slides. Would you be able to share those slides with us?
Yeah, sure, inshallah. I mean, that's simple. Just send me the email and I'll send it right away, inshallah.
Thank you. One more question, and I'm conscious of time. We might not be able to take more than 2 or 3 more questions. The question is, can you kindly differentiate between joint venture and partnership? I'm not sure whether the questioner wants you to differentiate within Mudaraba and the concept of cost plus, which you sort of explained with the Murabaha, but perhaps it's just maybe the distinction between joint venture and partnership in Islam.
Okay, so there are the contracts are completely different. You have the Mudaraba and the Musharaka contracts. Mudaraba contracts are contract that is also a partnership, but with distinctiveness. The Mudaraba contract is the older contract in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ was a Rabb al-Mal. He was a Mudarib, astaghfirullah. He was a Mudarib, he was an entrepreneur. And his wife, Khadija, radiallahu ta'ala anha, was a Rabb al-Mal. And they came together and they had business. I'm sure everybody that has done the fundamentals of Islamic history has gone through all of this. And so she will provide the funding and the merchandise for which the Prophet will take to Sham and other parts of Arabia and go and sell. And when they come back, they share the profits before they got married. So that is simple case, simple Mudaraba. Myself and brother Ajibola are here. He is owner of fund. I know how to manufacture paper. So he gives me the money, I manufacture the paper, and we sell into the open market. That is Mudaraba. No interest is involved. Profit and sharing is involved. Now, profit and loss sharing is involved. Where we make a loss, if we make a loss, my energy as an entrepreneur is wasted, my time is wasted, the brother lost his money. It's as simple as that. As long as I'm not found wanting to contravene the rule of the partnership of the joint venture of the partnership, I've not contravened the rule. Once I've not contravened that, no issue. He lost his cash, I lost my time, I lost my energy, and everything is gone. Where we're making profit, before we start the partnership, we agree on profit sharing ratio. How much will you take? How much will I take if we make profits? Ratio what to what are we going to take? We agree on that, and that is shared. And so we go into the business. And once we also agree on the term to say, when will this business terminate? Once that is agreed, that is documented. If we want to go into the business, we then document the term. And both of us sign off, and under the Sharia, we get witnesses that sign on our behalf, and we have a business. Now, just like you have active partner, passive partner, sleeping partner in the traditional partnership agreement, you also have all of those under the Sharia, under the Musharaka contracts. Because basically there, you are dealing with partnership. And in the partnership, those who will say, I want to contribute money, I don't want to get involved in the running of the business. Those who will say, I want to contribute money, I also want to get involved in the running of the business. And those who will say, I will contribute only a little, but I want to be actively involved in the running of the business. And so all of you all have terms and you are knitted together based on an agreement. And you now see, but for it to now become a business, certain fundamentals must be observed. One, you can't have debentures because debentures will amount to interest. The fund must be put to the work for which you have agreed, and that work must be halal. So certain things will be thrown out once they are not halal. Okay? Now, you also need to look at the gearing. If it is a business that's been formed before that time, a partnership that has been formed before that time, what level of the gearing belongs to the interest segments? How soon can you do away with it? All that will need to be agreed. Those are the technicalities, which might not be taken under this platform. Now, you now knit that together, and that forms an agreement for your musharaka. Now, in the musharaka, there are different types of subcontracts in musharaka. So that is as easy as I could explain to you in what mudaraba and what musharaka is. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. We would love to have this go on and take all the questions I have, but I'm conscious that we have other speakers also lined up, and time isn't our friend. But before I hand over to Brother Jima to take over the next session, I would like to invite the acting president, Mr. Abdul Adeji, to share a word with us or two in the next 1 minute, and perhaps also to thank our speaker for us. Acting President, sir. I think you're on mute, sir, if you're there.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Doctor, thank you so much for this insightful lecture. I just, before you go, I know you don't have time. I know Ajibola is trying to press on you that there's no much time. Some of our participants, some of the stuff you're giving out today is loaded. Someone like me, like a stockbroker, I get excited, and I'm looking in directions of you helping us, probably packaging a training program with a Harvard leadership, so that some of our youth can become satisfied as they have been asking for. I thank you so much for this wonderful lecture, insight into Islamic finance that you're giving us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Doctor, before I let you go, would you like to say probably a closing remark or one or two words to share with us as we sort of go through this? We dilute some of the things you shared earlier on.
All right, alhamdulillah. Let me say this is a step in the right direction. I read the theme of your convention. I think it's something that is good. I also want to implore you to focus seriously into the area of finance. And the Ummah today is suffering, and our poverty level is about the highest in the nation. And around of Africa, the Muslims are actually the ones that are bearing the brunt of poverty around the continent. This is as a result of a lot of misgiving and a misunderstanding that we need to correct, and you are better at an opportunity to correct that. A society or a community that is financially excluded is also socially excluded. And for us to break these ranks of intergeneration of poverty, we need to get you to do a lot of more work in this regard. I want to implore you to please do focus more on this, do a lot of work on it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will assist you. Thank you very much for having me this morning, and I'm grateful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're extremely excited to have you, and we've benefited immensely from that content-rich lecture you've delivered to us. Now is the time to go, and I think the second part of this morning edition, which is the renewable energy, all coming together about financial freedom, financial literacy, which we're gearing towards getting. I shall now invite Brother Kayode Jima to hand over the second part of this morning. Is Brother JMK there? I think you might be on mute because we can't hear you yet.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Go ahead, brother. We can hear you, sir. I think you're frozen, brother Jimo. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, sir? I think brother Jimo is struggling with his network. Okay. Thank you very much, brother Jimo. Unfortunately, I might have to proceed from here. Inshallah, it was quite an exciting and interesting section. We thank Allah and we thank our doctor for that wonderful section. It is as if it should not stop, but unfortunately, the time has come to challenge us that we have to continue for obvious reasons. We're moving on to a very great section now, section based on overall, we are looking into financial literacy. How can we be financially independent? How can our youth be financially independent to things surrounding them? Do we have to wait for handouts before we survive? Of course not. We need to find a way to move on with our life with whatever resources that we have at our disposal. So inshallah, today we will be moving on to an aspect of making things. Allow us to invite part of the literacy will be for me to invite the founder and chief executive of Trintech Nigeria Limited, the person of Engineer Edward Irafemi. Engineer Edward Irafemi is a pioneer information technology / energy resource management genius, and is also a specialist with over 18 years of experience in ICT, in banking, construction, pharmaceutical, and oil and gas industries. Our engineer holds a bachelor degree in management information systems from Dublin Business School. Is also a second degree holder in technology engineering from Dublin Institute of Technology. He has a master's degree from University of Lugano, that's far out in Switzerland. He holds various professional membership from world-renowned companies and has consulted widely for government, public sector, and as well as international agency, both locally and abroad. We're talking about renewable energy. On this, allow me to say, welcome, sir, Engineer Irafemi, sir.
Abdul Karim, good morning. Thank you very much for.
If you don't mind, may I ask you to share your video, sir, if you don't mind, sir?
Sure, I will. A very good morning to everyone. Dr. Jubril, I was really impressed with the insight of the Islamic finance you shared earlier on with us. Abdul Karim, I really thank you guys for setting up this youth convention. It's a great pleasure to come into this and actually put myself up to get everyone into this great emergency energy we are all looking at to be sustainable and free from a lot of bondage we have, not knowing what we want to do, where we are headed. As Doctor said earlier on, the poverty level in the country is really bad. You know, and a lot of people are not really into the skill working what we want to do. But with this, it's a lot of activities for us all to look into, because the market now, as we said earlier on, in Nigeria, it's quite doable and achievable for a lot of us to go into it. I will try and share my screen now to show what we will talk about.
Engineer, sir.
Which
engineer, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Abdul Karim. Yeah.
We actually
can hear you, Abdul Karim. Can you hear me, everyone?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. We are thinking of making the section as interactive as possible, whereby people can actually pitch in and ask questions. Sure. We can just take questions from you as well. I know you have a slide for us, sure, so that we can benefit from what you've actually put together for us. Perhaps we can allow you to present this slide for the next 10 to 15 minutes, and we can come back and take questions, and we can deliberate on how can we get opportunities from this emerging economy, sir, if that's fine with you, sir.
That's fantastic with me. I will do that now.
All right.
Just try and share my screen with it.
All right, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, as we said, I am Edward Irafemi. I've been in the UK and Dublin for about 20 plus years. Started a career with management information system, as briefly explained. Normally, we all feel being abroad and staying there, it's the best financial stability we will all have, and not knowing what is happening in the country of our birth. So I decided to relocate to Nigeria to see how we can change the whole environment and change the whole prospect of how we're going in Nigeria. So I started TrainTech Nigeria Limited based on energy and telecoms. So there's been a lot of challenges in the maintenance, physically, in the Nigerian environment, and we only depend mostly on oil. So we're looking outward on better energy sources. We were just based on getting diesel, which is coming out from the crude oil, to service most of the generators and site builds. The site built is what they use in powering most of your BTS, your network. I would say it's called a basic transmission system, which transmits your radio frequency for your mobile phones and stuff. So that's why you see sometimes you have shortages of transmission, or you have breaking transmission on your networks. You don't have good networks because of no fuel on most of those sites. So we decided to come into the market to see exactly how we can take that challenges off from the network companies, which are the telco companies like Glow, Etisalat, and MTN. So we started a renewable energy chase using solar, which has gone a very big ply with most telecoms company. I will try and explain basically what renewable energy is and how we started and where we came from, basically. Like, these are the core contents of the topic I'll be talking about, which a brief history of power, energy in Nigeria, how we started the whole energy system in Nigeria, then an introduction of renewable energy, then advantages of renewable energy, then the opportunities and challenges in an emerging economy. Because Nigeria is still a virgin ground in this energy sector. We're too slow in implementing it, but it's a gradual process. We're taking our time, but it's a really gradual process. It's coming up. With that, we'll take questions and answers after I've explained myself. So it's just a brief history of power, when power started. Electricity in Nigeria began in Lagos in 1886 with the use of generators to provide only 60 kilowatts of energy. But the first electricity utility company, which is the Nigerian Electricity Supply Company, was established in 1920. You can see how we generate our own electricity way back in 1886. We're using just generators, which was what was available then. But with time, things changed. Like in 1961, the Electricity Corporation of Nigeria, they completed a 132 kV transmission line between Lagos, Ibadan, via Shagamu in 1965, which they extended to Benin, Osogbo, and Ughelli. Ughelli is the Delta, Niger Delta, where we have loads of oil facilities. What you can see, they had to connect, but we didn't have a facility where we can set up a power generation, which they had to do the Delta State Warri refinery at a later state. But by 2020, a state-owned monopoly, which is the NEPA, we all call it NEPA, the National Electric Power Authority, was in charge of generation, transmission, distribution of electricity in Nigeria. They also came up with an act to form the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, who actually manages every issue with the electricity sector. It's an independent regulatory body in Nigeria, which was very good to see exactly where we're headed. That was why it was actually set up. And in addition, the power holding company, which is the PHCN, was renamed from NEPA because they had to transition a corporation, which they had to, the issues we're having with no lights, there's always lights, no infrastructures on ground. They had to put up a bid for successors to come into the electric companies to take certain aspect generating power to sustain Nigeria. So there were 18 successors, 6 generation companies, 11 distribution companies, and 1 transmission companies. You can all see that we only still have 1 transmission companies, which was still created under the so-called NEPA umbrella. With that has given us a brief explanation on where we are coming from and how far we have gone. Because the situation we are in Nigeria, I would say it's appalling compared to what we have out there with the light situation and power situation. A lot of countries have gone way beyond we using oil to generate light, but they all gone into renewable energy. Like the likes of Finland now, most of the activities out there, they're all running on solar platforms and electric being generated by solar and wind, you know? And it has brought a lot of carbon monoxide down from the environment. Like if we can take a look back on when the COVID started, back March, when we all had the lockdown. The China atmosphere then, they were really high on coal. The visibility there, you could literally not see the skies or infrastructures out there in China. And most of them were wearing protective masks because of the bad air that they're all breathing. So, but when that COVID happened, it took a lot of insight to see where humanity has gone, the damage we have done to the atmosphere. The China media actually said at September, it's been 30 years they saw the Himalayan hills. They couldn't see those hills because it was all covered with bad atmosphere, combustions everywhere, carbon monoxide everywhere. It was really bad. So they had a plan that they are going to really shut down most of their manufacturing industry and go into renewable energy, which most countries right now are looking into, and they've started implementing that. Like in Nigeria, as I said earlier on, it's still a promising state. The only source of renewable energy in the country we have, it's the hydropower, biomass, wind, solar. Solar has been the major one that has been deployed. And a lot of policies and initiatives on the wind and solar energy. Can everyone hear me there? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, that's good. A lot of initiatives have started. So they are all looking into putting Nigerian forward in having that solar energy generation going on in the country to generate more energy. Like the development in solar and wind energy are gradually increasing with the discovery of high potentials and benefits for the environment in Nigeria, basically. Like Nigeria is only able to supply power to half of its population of 200 million currently. And as I said earlier on, generation is a small amount of energy from the renewable source, such as the hydro power, the solar power, the wind and bio that we have, but we don't really put more energy into it. So the government decided to set up a commission called the Energy Commission of Nigeria, which came up with a renewable energy master plan, which suggests the ideas for renewable energies as a possible technology that can be used to fulfill the goals that we all look into, having stable electricity in Nigeria. And also, they had a target plan of expansion of about 90% of the population to have energy, which is needed to do almost 98% of each activities, both in your homes, your farms, and your offices, your organizations. So we hope by 2030, we should have that 90% completion of that master plan, which the Nigerian Commission of Energy have decided to take upon the Nigerian government. Also, Nigeria has the potential to generate most of its energy through solar. Like Lagos, Abuja, Benin, and Port Harcourt, they now have most of this solar energy generation going on through beautification projects on most of their street lights. Like if you see Lagos now, they hardly turn on generators. They implement the solar energy to most of the street lights. Like the likes of the Oshodi Bagada area, they have the solar running now, powering most of the street lights there, and some of the ones going up on the Mobolaji Bankantoni area. So most of these beautification projects are really helping out to let them understand that this solar is here to stay and here to help us in every aspect of energy generation. Then in February, Nigeria completed the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Project, which supplies about 261,000 citizens with clean renewable energy, because they've really seen that this is the way forward. There's no other way but to go through this energy sector. So this project was also partnered with UAID, most private donors, government agencies, financial institutes, and non-governmental organizations have actually looked into it to see that this is a very big place, that it's an untapped area we're not really looking into, but we can use that in generating a lot of power to sustain the grid. So the goal for the project was to raise up to 2.5 megawatts of power through off and on-grid sources, which came with the solar and the wind. So with this, it will reduce the carbon monoxide, as I explained earlier on with China, what they were facing. When COVID came up, they could really see that there were really bad toxins in the air, and a lot of people were really breathing bad toxins, which wasn't really helping the health of the country and also the environment of the country, you know. But good for us, it's not something really major going on in Nigeria, but since we've started and we've looked into this aspect of getting the solar working for us, at least we should be thankful on that aspect. Well, the World Bank, as we all know, they always come up with aids to help us in various areas. They decided to come up with a plan so we can build a solar grid. As I explained, by 2023, they want us to really focus on solar instead of fossil fuel. We really need to focus more on the solar. So they gave us almost $350 million, which is a huge amount of money to set up what we need to add to our own grid. Like the likes of Dubai and the Arab Emirates, most of them are actually going under this renewable energy on solar. And it's really working for them. It's really, really working for them. Like certain areas in Nigeria where the rural areas where there's no lights, the schools don't have lightings, don't have facilities to use. It's a way we can use that to expand power to them in the likes of getting them good generations. So the energy support program was developed in conjunction with a German development agency and an international financial corporation to help in supporting training programs for renewable energy systems and efficiency for it. Training is carried out by Nigerian Premium Power Systems Trainer, which is the National Power Training Institute of Nigeria, and other power trainers, including various energy research centers run by Energy Commission of Nigeria. We are part of them. We do training on solar. Like most people want to have hands-on, diverse, to see how they can use in supporting their family. So we train them on that, to do installations on solar, which most houses now we have, to compensate on the loss of electricity when we take the lights and We try to see what we can do, before turning on your generator, spending a lot of money on diesel and all. The solar comes into place to assist in cutting off all those costs for you and have at least 24 hours light with no issues. You know, then in 2016, President Muhammad Buhari inaugurated the first solar power plant in Ibadan. A lot of people won't really expect that coming into Oyo State to start, but at least for them to see exactly where we are headed. As of December 2017, the federal government also invested almost $2 million on solar projects throughout the country. But it's not enough compared to what we should be doing right now with solar, because we have sun, abundance of sun in Nigeria, which we should take advantage of to generate a lot, when I mean a lot of energy to the grid to help us with the increase of the megawatts we generate from that grid, because it's not enough to cover almost 200 million nationals. Like the solar, it's been there for a while, and it has been utilized for decades in the process of cooking, food preservation, and agriculture. Most of the mechanisms out there are being used in agriculture with solar back in the north. As I said earlier on, Nigeria is blessed with energy, sun. The north, they have an insolation of almost 200 kilowatts of solar energy generation we can harness, while the southern part is a bit short of 200, which is not much, but we can also generate that amount of energy. That's why you see the president went into Ibadan to have a test run to see if it's sustainable, which it is. It is very, very sustainable. And in addition to the adequate power output, solar has been an aid in reducing, as I said earlier on, carbon emission from fossil fuel a lot, because we should be thinking more of leaving oil and facing what will not harm the environment with free energy we can get from nature to generate light. We should be looking that direction. It's a direction most of us need to focus on. Well, solar power is here, as I said earlier on, is here to provide reliable, sustainable source of energy in both the urban and other locations, and could alleviate the resources conflicts associated with oil, because we've really focused more on oil. Oil does everything in Nigeria. We so much believe in it, which we need to stay away from. There are ways we can do things, generate light, have sustainable light where we can have 24 hours of generation without any interruption. That's what we really need to focus on right now. This is a few diagram and illustration on how it works. You can see on the power energy network, the application, we have the solar panels. The solar panels actually are the ones that absorbs the sun, which actually puts more energy to the batteries. You have to have certain amount of batteries on what you want to the amount of power you want to generate in your home. Basically, it's a basic need we need in the house. Make sure your light is functioning, your fans are working. If you want to put on your AC to work properly with the solar, you just need to increase the battery capacity. So the more batteries you have, the more light you can sustain and have. So it's a really, really reliable application, which I use it in my home. Basically, I have almost 24 hours light in my house, which is, and in most of my offices, that's what we use. The training centers, that's what we use. So tapping into the grid, we don't need that. We have the light 24/7. So it's just basically on how you want to generate your light using the solar, the amount of time you want to run the solar, and what you want to power depends on you and your capacity. So basically, this shows you how it works. There are panels, there are NPR switches that you use to connect with the batteries and the solar to have charge from the sun. Then the light distributors, which distribute direct light into you. Also, you can see the diagram, how it can be placed. The one in the house to charge most of your appliances. You can use your appliances, any appliances. It's just the amount you need, the kilowatts you want. You can generate your own power as you wish. Basically, that's just what this renewable energy is for you. So you don't need the government to tell you how to generate your own power, because sometimes you cannot have power. You will not have power for 24 to a week to 2 weeks, no power, no light. And there's a lot you have to do. So this comes in place to take away that burden away from you. And also the Nigerian government really needs to focus more on the solar energy generation, because on most of the Mabila power plants, they can be integrated into this solar to generate more kilowatts. We can go as far as 3,000 to 6,000 kilowatts of energy to the grid without any excuses. But as we all say, it's been a slow process. It's really been a slow process. They all say, well, it's going to be the cost is going to be too much. Where are we going to be coming from with the batteries? How is this going to be implemented? And I try to explain to them, mostly some of the government agencies I've had the opportunity to talk to. These batteries can be manufactured in Nigeria here to suit the needs, because we have every raw material to manufacture those batteries. The solar panels too can be manufactured here in Nigeria, because we have those resources, those raw materials to do that. But that has been a bit of an issue, raising capitals to set up that industry. Because if you look at skilled workers can be trained out of this, which they can build capacity for work for our youths to be employed and gain sustainable skills to help themselves. But it's really been a major challenge that we're having. But to be frank, it's a major improvement on the energy sector, because most countries are really going into solar generation, electric use. Like what the NMPC came out last 2 months with a CNG, which is gas, that they want to start using gas to power automobiles. And back when I was 14 years old, we had a gas canister. It's the canister. It's a big gas in the boots. Mitsubishi started it. They normally put this canister that you can switch from gas to fuel when you're driving. So it's something that has been way long being used. But as I say, we keep flaring gases in the South and in the Southwest. It's just recently they're trying to see how they can use that flaring to generate more gas. So few companies are taking up the responsibility to secure those gases that has been flamed out to generate more CNG. But to me, I see it as a backwards trend. We're just taking a backwards trend when it comes to using gas to propel our cars, whereby electric cars is the major thing happening now. And most of these electric cars are used with solar to generate this electricity. The UK, Finland, Brussels, Seoul, which is South Korea, 80% of the population actually running on electricity using solar and wind energy, basically. So there's a lot we have to do to transit from we using oil, we using gas to have energy. Fine, it's in abundance in Nigeria, it's in abundance. But there are ways we can generate more power to be used. So basically, this is how it works. The solar energy works and how you can generate electricity in your home without any issue or whatsoever. As I said, solar and wind, it's one of the major renewable energy sources we can use. But with the likes of the wind power, it's not something the government is really looking into right now, because to them it's like a new technology, which the likes of Sweden, they've been using to power. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
I think we should pause a bit so that
Okay.
people can feed in. We can have feedback and we can take questions and interaction, because the essence of we having this part of the program is to look into how can we contribute towards this emerging economy. You know, how can we together look into it? How can we empower our youth members? And at the same time, how can we benefit from FinTech company to look into a general overview of the companies and also ourselves, seeing what we can both benefit from it. Allow me to bring in our dear brother, the Honorable Brother Mumin Kayode, to lead the discussion of it so that we can take feedback from attendees, and he can also have his own input as well. So attendees,
that'll be great.
The question and answer section is on. You can chip in your views or anything that you would like to contribute as well. We'll take that. And if you want to talk, you can raise your hand and we can take that as well. Bismillah, Brother Kayode.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We thank you most sincerely, Engineer Edward Iruafemi. I've followed with keen interest, and we must appreciate you for taking us through it. Now, I am going to be putting it in this way.
Thank you very much.
First, the people you are talking to are youth. I hope you are aware, and of course with interest in renewable energy, especially the youth currently are looking at something we can do without even leaving the corner of our room, which of course this gives a better opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, but if we must say, if you look at renewable energy and, in terms of solar, do you agree with the perspective that it is more of the high class, rather for the middle and low class people? And of course, the example is glaring to all of us to see. Just like he also stated, if you look at since when renewable energy solar has been introduced in Nigeria, for instance, and the rate at which you expect it to grow, it has not grown in that regard.
Thank
You
you.
made mention
It
of
doesn't grow.
few challenges.
Yeah.
You made mention of few challenges, of course, which are majorly funding, and of course the maintenance. Because if you look at, if it is actually cheap and it is accessible, you would have seen it in so many households.
Yeah.
Now, tailoring the discussion to youth, how it affects us and how we can benefit, because we are looking at, as youth member, how do we key into this project? If I, as a member, cannot afford to have solar installed in my house, how can I be part to benefit people? So what are the other cost implications? Of course, it is capital intensive. How do we ensure that youth benefit from this? Then I'm going to ask that if you say solar energy can serve 24 hours, we would like to know the things that solar energy can power, so that everybody will understand. For instance, in the case of inverter, when you put on your inverter, you have to micromanage the power. You know that you cannot put on your fridge, you cannot put on your AC, you cannot put this. So if, for instance, there are no alternative energy for that period of time, can the solar energy, take care of this area? And how the cost implication of landing a solar energy, to a particular household, and how, we can have youth benefit maximally from this. Let me stop here, for you to.
Okay. Mr. Kayode, thank you for the questions there. And I will explain basically what you just said to me. The likes of empowering youth that would benefit the youth in this renewable energy is the likes of setting trainings for the youth in knowing how the solar installation works and also how solar works, basically. Because we don't have a lot of skilled engineers who can do the installation of solar in most houses and organizations. We are very few. So that is why we took up the task of setting up a training center. Most youths, they come in to do the training. After doing the training, we place them, some of our experienced engineers who go out on site to do installation of solar energies in organizations, households, and companies, medium-sized companies, like the likes of you making a sachet, those sachet water and others. They use that. Now, to benefit the youth, to me, it's, as you said earlier, expensive to have solar in the house. You having inverters running already, you've taken almost 80% of the cost having that inverter in your house to power up few things you have. So what solar does, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Okay. What solar does instead of you waiting for the power grid to power your house to charge those inverters, the solar actually takes in power from the sun through the solar panels to charge those batteries. To keep you up 24 hours. So you don't need any light from the government or NEPA to charge those batteries. Those solar panels, as I shared earlier on, actually help generating. If I can go back to the slide for you, it actually, yeah, this is it. It actually powers, the panels actually power up your batteries to give you 24 hours stability of light. Now, when it comes to cost of having those inverters in your house or solar in your house, as I said earlier on, it depends on what you want to have powered up in your house. Because everyone, the few of us out here will always want our fans, our TVs, just have a bit of light to do the essential things you need at home. You can have like a 2-battery installation in your house, solar panel installation in your house. Have a 2-panel install with 2 batteries. Those panels only power up your give those batteries, so you can have a 24 to 48 hours or 72 hours light without any interruption. You understand that? So the solar panels are actually the key to you generating that light you need. While the battery powers up the essential appliances you need at home for your usefulness. So you can have that light constantly without any interruption. That's why the solar panel comes in. Now, as I said earlier on, the training is a major criteria we really need to look into to help the youth, because also they can use that as a skilled labor for work to generate income, because it's only here in Lagos that we have a lot of people looking into, not really wanting to have that solar installed in the house because they all feel it's expensive. But there are ways we can accommodate that expense in getting a solar in your home installed. Like I said earlier on, you can have a 2-battery with 2 panels, or you can have a 1-battery with a low 1.5 kVA inverter with the solar running on it. You'll be fine without having any issues. You will take, like my house, you will run away from NEPA, cost efficiency. But at first you would think it's a big bulk of money you're going to be spending. But what you're going to be getting out of that, it's major. The efficiency there, it's really good. Now, like the likes of we youths going into training, making things happen for ourselves, it's an area where the labor force in Nigeria is very poor. It's very poor, and a lot of people are not really looking into having a skilled labor, hands-on work, because most people don't even know where to put their head or where they're headed. So with this, it will really bring a lot of employment into the market and help a lot of households in gaining money to help their families.
Okay, thank you, engineer.
So, Mr. Carroll, does that explain to you?
Yeah, yes, it does. You were trying to give us an idea of the cost implication.
Did I cover what you?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, the
except
cost
that of the,
implication, if I'm to come into it, if I'm to come into the cost implication, you can look as directed. We can set up a plan, payment plan, whereby you can pay in bits. As far you can pay, it's not a problem. You can pay in bits when it's been installed in your home. There are ways it's been arranged with some of these banks that fine, you want to sell a house, this is what you can pay gradually while you have it. So it's on ground with most of the banks, because the banks now feel a lot of people want this stability of light. So, and you know, our banking system is where they can make money. They look into, and most with the whole situation going on in the country, it's taxing. A lot of people will not want to look into it to say, oh, I will just stay in darkness instead of me having this one, or I will run my generator. The money they spend on that generator, if you can pay that money instrumentally, it will help you in the long run. So there are ways we can curtail those costs they are looking into, or they feel is a challenge. There are ways. There are real ways. I can tell you right now, off the floor, the cheapest installation we can have. We can have 280,000, but that can be broken down to various amounts you can pay in 6 months, which helps. And you will have your regular light to do exactly what you want to do. Power your freezers, power your work environment and stuff. That's the cheapest I can give and tell you off plan. Ways you can escalate to higher ones that give you 24 hours light without interruption. Does that cover the question? Does that make you feel okay?
yes, yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. There are some questions that needed a bit of more clarification from some of our audience here.
Okay, what would that be?
Of course, as Nigerians, renewable energy is more than an alien concept to us. How do you feel we give it more focus? And of course, secondly, how can it be affordable to all and sundry? I think you've talked about this.
Yeah.
Then thirdly, this person is asking, are there no health risk, to whoever have it installed at their various homes? And in addition, when we ask youth, or when we want youth to attend the training on renewable energy, the end means, or what we are targeting is, for such a person to be able to make economic means at the end of it. Who are the target market? Of course, we. And I made mention earlier that the solar energy as it is today in this country seems for, more of high class people than middle class and lower class. And of course, when we look at a program where, we are advising people to go into massively, then the target market has to be middle class. So can you throw more light in this?
Okay. Like the likes of the health situation, one of the attendees asked about. There's no health risks. It's all nature. The solar panels only just grab heat from the sun. The sun is a natural occurrence in the world. So we don't have, with the likes of the batteries are actually made for the environment, because they're dry cell batteries you're using. So the effectiveness and the radiation of those batteries that we all feel that might cause an health issue, they've been taken care of. That's why they had to make it dry cells. So health implications are very, very minimal. So I would say it's hard. It's really hard for you to have a radiation or